let's bring the guy in. The guy had a very uh unmute your mic, IB. The guy had a very
Peace.
interesting
Peace,
uh
God.
he had
Peace, God.
a very interesting room on Clubhouse in the
Mm.
beginning. This was like in the first days of February, and he asked the question some of the nature of is Black History Month dead? Because it wasn't the traditional kind of celebrations and kind of knowledge that gets disseminated during Black History Month. We wasn't seeing that. Instead we were seeing what's her name? Not Oprah
Whoopee
Winfrey,
crying. Whoopee crying.
Goldberg. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of the news, it seemed to be going away from Black history, and then even when Black people was included, it wasn't necessarily.
Is Black History Month considered critical race theory at this point?
Well,
Yes.
let's start. Let me hold up. First, let's start with this though. What did you think? I don't know if you had a follow up room, but what was the verdict on Black History Month? You know what I'm saying? Do you think it ever caught on, and you started to see the kind of traditional celebrations that we used to?
I didn't see the traditional celebrations. Um I think the gatekeepers to those celebrations have changed though. Actually, we the ones who are of that age are the people that would have been holding the celebrations when we was younger. So actually, those celebrations aren't really going on because we the ones not doing them. You understand what I'm saying?
So that's what I'm saying. That was the verdict that you came up with, is that the people that's supposed to be stepping into those positions right now is not stepping into them.
Absolutely. But one of the great points that you came up with though, when we was in that discussion was is that a lot of people are saying that some of the information that we was taught when we was younger is not that accurate anymore. However, the people that are so-called educators, they're not disseminating this information to the general population. So how the hell is a regular person who's not erudite gonna have this information? Besides, people are not really going out there to do that type of study. So how are we supposed to know that the information is not accurate from Dr. Ben or Dr. John Henry Clark or whoever scholar that you followed back in the days?
Mm-hmm.
How are we supposed to know
Yeah,
that?
yeah. And
Well,
now,
can I make a point?
good.
Yes.
Do you think that the the COVID um era which we're in, which it doesn't really lead for you leading having a lot of people gathering. Do you think that played a role in the lack of activity?
I mean, we
Now,
had Zoom.
yeah, I wouldn't say that because it's even in the commercials in the TV that you saw. You know what I'm saying? It almost seemed like post-racial. Remember they was talking about that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it was post-racial. Like it came up, but being that we don't have problems no more with race, we didn't have to go all into it. You know what I
Right.
mean? Or perhaps you hit something on the head too, where you got this critical race thing. You know what I'm saying? Maybe a lot of the stations that were the big commercials or did shows, you know what I'm saying? They decided we don't want to offend our fan base that is against critical race theory. You know what I'm saying?
Mind you,
I
two
did see
years
some
ago,
shows though.
but 2 years ago, it was an overload. You had senators and congressmen walking around in kente cloth.
Kente cloth, right?
Two
Right.
years
Yeah.
ago, you feel what I'm saying? It was a super overload. Everything was, Black Lives Matter, this, black people, this, that, and the third. But they came back with reckless abandon to shut all that down. Now you can't even hear repeat.
Well, I think that critical race theory in practice is not going to work. Because see, what happens is you look at the demonstrations when they was first popping off. Brother Floyd and all that, George Floyd and all that, there were a lot of uh, European people that was in the forefront. I mean, some of it was staged through George Soros, of course, but it was some genuine people out there trying to front line different things and jumping in front of original people and things of that nature. Now, I think that's all due to hip hop. And they want to be hip hop so bad that they try to live out the sentiments of those who are actually suffering from the injustices. So it's too late to get them. You know what I mean? And those ones that's out there, 5% of them are going to proliferate that to their youth, right? Critical race theory is ill-timed. It's not going to hold up. This is what I see. It's not going to hold up because as long as
Hold on for a second though, because that's my thing is that I'm not, what is critical race theory? Because I hear people arguing about like some people they like I've seen a person come up and give this whole thing about critical race theory and how it's impacting, and then somebody else come right behind them and say, "Yeah, but that's not critical race theory."
It's not.
anybody want to define it, because I could define it from where I see it.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, from my understanding, critical race theory is teaching white children that they're given privilege because they're white.
Nope.
Period.
That's not what it is. that's
Well,
not
what's
it.
your
That's not it at all. That's the funny thing about it. It's like, you know, um, like what you talking about right there with teaching the white children and all that. That's something they
mm-hmm.
call anti-racism. That's anti-racism. Critical race theory is a legal framework that was constructed by Derek Bell and Kimberly Crenshaw and various other legal scholars that's taught as a framework to examine legal case studies. It really has nothing to do with what they're framing as critical
Right.
race theory, right?
Right.
Like right here it says, look, I got the book. I went and got the book. I got the big book and I got the little book.
Well, I
Just because I
need that.
wanted to know.
So what's
I
up,
just wanted to know.
who's the author of that book?
This one right here is by Richard Delgado, which is another scholar. And then I got the Critical Race Theory Reader. That's a big book with all of the initial scholars and theories that came out. But
So it's all based on law.
yeah, it's based on law. He was a
But
legal
they don't
scholar,
teach
Derek
law
Bell.
in school. They don't teach law in school like that.
They're just crafting
Yeah,
it, saying anything is
that's kind of
critical
the
race
argument
theory.
that people are saying when the people are saying that they teach you critical race theory in school. The critical race theory people are saying no, they're not. They only teach it in a law school. So that's
Nope.
what I'm saying. It's like all over. I don't, when I hear it, I hear the things that they're saying.
So it's an oxymoronic statement within itself. Then
I don't know
Listen,
about an oxymoronic statement, but it's like one of those straw men that could be
same
put out
thing.
there and cause people to argue over it. You know what I'm saying? Because the way I first heard it was that it's basically not saying that this is factual, but I'm saying the way it was first presented to me is that it's about teaching things like Thanksgiving is not a more critical look at an event like Thanksgiving, not as a heroic type of thing that we should be celebrating, you know what I'm saying? But as the beginning of a genocide that, maybe we should be trying to correct.
oh,
You understand what I'm saying? And
Yeah, but
so
How was Zen taught that in the People's History of the United States? So they putting this off as critical race theory. Those things been being taught by white scholars and black scholars.
but this is where they, you know what I'm saying? They connecting it with what you call that stuff? You know about the Tavistock? The Tavistock, what is it? It's not a university. It's some kind of they like a think tank where a lot of these different conspiracies, they say a lot of them come out of Tavistock. You know what I'm saying? Like I think they've been around before, like the dudes that made like the CFR and all of them, they was already in Tavistock. You know what I'm saying? And these people over there, they came out with what do you call it? The social engineering. You know what I'm saying? And so they saying that, you know, the people who's coming from that perspective that they trying to teach this to white kids, they saying that this is a part of the social engineering. That's the connection.
So God, IB, is the things that you're reading, do you have a list of things which are considered critical race theory in the school systems?
They don't teach critical race theory in the school system. There's a whole lecture right now. You could go to Clubhouse. There's a whole lecture on Clubhouse by actual critical race theory scholar. And she's basically breaking down what she teaches in master's and graduate level courses of law about critical race theory. What they're up in arms about is the 1619 project that came out by that sister. Also anti-racism by Kendi. So some of these things is being promoted in schools, but it has nothing to do with critical race theory. They called it critical race theory. There's plenty of things that you could go on the Black News Channel where they had actual senators that was talking about critical race theory and why it should be banned. But when somebody asked them to define exactly what it was, they didn't even know what it was or who was the main proponents of it.
Yeah.
So according to this book right here, it says the critical race theory movement is a collection of activists and scholars engaged in studying and transforming the relationship among race, racism, and power. The movement considers many of the same issues that conventional civil rights and ethnic studies discourages take up, but places them in a broader perspective that includes economics, history, setting, group, and self-interest and emotions and the unconscious. Unlike traditional civil rights discourse, which stresses incrementalism and step-by-step process, critical race theory questions the very foundation of liberal order, including equality theory, legal reasoning, enlightenment, rationalism, and neutral principles of constitutional law. So it's not something, according to what these critical race theory scholars are saying, it's not something that a child could even comprehend or something that can be broken down on the elementary or central school level. So what they really talking about is anti-racism, or like what you said with the Thanksgiving and all of that different stuff. You know, these are things that have already been taught by other scholars, right? And now they just want to ban it all together. They want to ban anything that critiques white people, right? That's that white fragility that D'Angelo was talking about.